Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 3. Get ready for expert analysis and rising wrestling stars. Now here we go with your host, Ken Judge.
Going, boys.
Hey, everyone. Ken from Ken's Corner, and thanks to Ian today, we actually have a show because my computer decided to take a day off. I don't know. Maybe it was my computer's birthday, and it decided that it didn't want to talk or hear. So here we are anyway. How you doing, boys? Ian, JT, and George, thank you all for joining me here today.
Buddies.
Hey.
Hello. So on our agenda today, guys, Ian, we're going to start with you and then just move around the room here. Ian, this is a really good thing that I seen that came up. Now, in a hard cap era where everything is hard capped in the NHL, why does it matter? And it seems that it does because teams like Dallas, Florida, Tampa Bay don't have a tax bracket for these players. They don't lose money in those places. Why do we not have that incorporated into the NHL rules as a cap rule that everyone is equal?
It seems strange to me that hasn't already happened in some way. I remember the show Bizarre that was filmed in back in the 80s? Well, those two guys lived in Buffalo for exactly this same reason, John Biner and Super Dave. They lived in Buffalo for the same reason because they were being taxed too much. Now, surely if our players are getting paid in American dollars, if we're able to do that for them, can't we have an amendment somewhere in the law that says, well, okay, let's except for these people? I don't know if that's a great argument. It just seems odd to me that we're competing with Florida already, and then we're competing with, I mean, we all know what it's like when we get a paycheck, and we've seen what's taken off.
Look what's happened with Tavares right now. Tavares is in court with the federal government right now for tax evasion purposes because they say that his signing bonus was not a bonus. It was actually considered part of his wage. Right. So now the government's taking him to court over it. And if that in fact goes through, I'm sorry, but every Canadian team is going to you're going to be fighting for players because everyone's going to look at that and say, hold on a second now you're taxing everything, like even our bonuses, right? So they're trying to get around it, circumvent that stuff to pay these guys accordingly so we can compete with the U.S. markets that are not taxed the same. But they've thrown a wrench into that. So I think we got to see what happens with this JT case, and we'll go from there.
And didn't he live in New York at the time too? Can't you have an argument with saying, well, I was living there?
Yep. That was his argument, but they're saying it was a Canadian Ontario paycheck. So there's a fight. There's a fight going on. He's saying no, his lawyers are saying no, and the government's saying yes. So if it turns around that he ends up having to pay tax on that signing bonus, I see that being a real shit kick to every Canadian team.
Yet another one. Yet another
one. Yeah, 1,000%.
George, I know you have quite the opinion on this exact thing that we're talking about here because of your Bettman rule of Florida that you call it. What is your opinion on this tax? Do we need to make all teams equal?
Well, yeah, I think we would need to make all teams equal. Just exactly so we can get players to play here. And that my theory is if Florida wins, it's a Gary Bettman bet, and he's going to make some money.
Yeah. Anyone else have any more to add to this section of our conversation, guys?
I think plenty just hinges on what happens with JT right now. I think we are already in a disadvantage when it comes to taxation purposes. We are at a disadvantage in that their revenue stream for games is in Canadian funds, whereas they have to pay players in American funds. There's a lot of things that happen in a Canadian market that really handcuffs us in a cap era because dollars are dollars, but they don't take in consideration a 30, 40, 50% tax rate on that. So you have to get players that want to play in Canada at the end of the day. Like,
Yeah, I find it ridiculous. This is why I'm bringing this up. It was actually on a tweet from David Alter on our new X, I guess it's called. JT, you have last week we were talking about your Connor McDavid card that you had acquired. You were telling you had a big trade to announce with that card.
I did. I managed to move it up. I'm doing a little walk around, if you notice, and I'm just kind of in my little pool room here with all my cards and shit and all my stupid paraphernalia. There's a Wendell Clark hockey stick and thing on the back.
That's awesome.
But anyway, yeah, so I ended up trading that card, which was a big rookie. It's not a rookie card. It was a tribute card from the following year, but it was a patch auto signature card worth probably $4,000 to $5,000 raw as it was. But then I just traded it for that little beauty. So that's a 3-patch trilogy out of 15 of the new Phenom. So yeah, so it doesn't belong in my PC. We call that a personal collection. So I'll end up trying to flog this and sell it. But yeah, that was a pretty little card.
Is that Mitch Marner's new center?
Yeah, it might be. Hey, like, can you imagine? I think that would be a pretty heavy duo to have together for sure. Imagine that guy, those two setting each other up all day long.
Yeah, that would be something to see. Too bad it would be blue and white, but
yeah. I'd rather. I do have a signed jersey sitting right here. So yeah, say Livy.
Yeah. I mean, we can't keep running it back with the same core. We can't.
Well, this is what we're going to talk about now, Ian. If you had 3 players that you would want Toronto via trade or free agency, that 2 weeks away, name these 3 players, Ian, and everyone get that in your head and explain why you want to see him in Toronto. And let's try and keep it real. And if it could be Connor McDavid, but tell me why.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think guys like Brandon Montour, I don't think they're going to leave. I don't think Reinhart is going to leave. I tried to be a little sneakier. So here's what I thought. We really got to get bigger, as we know. So I was thinking Tanner Jeannot, Dakota Joshua, and Big Zed started off. Because
that was mine.
I think we've got to redefine our sort of bottom 6. We've got to redefine that. I don't think goal scoring is the issue. I'm not sure why we didn't in the playoffs. But just to go, we could get Gensel, I don't know if that's the answer. I think that bottom and then Big Zed in there would be a pretty juicy one for me, I think.
Dakota Joshua is a very interesting choice. He was actually drafted by the Leafs in 2014.
He was, right.
So, yeah, he's a very interesting player, and I would love to see him suit up in Toronto. I just like his name, I think. That's really well. JT, let's move on to your 3 choices.
Zadorov was one of my number 1 picks. I would love to see that guy. One big thing you mentioned it earlier is that our new coach is not a East-West kind of guy. He's a North-South, push it and dump it and kill it kind of guy. He's a hard hockey player. And I don't think Marner fits that mold. Marner is an East-West game. He's an East-West player. That's why when he took that high ankle sprain and came back, he couldn't play that East-West game. All he could do was North-South, and that nullified him. So I think the new coach's playing and new coach's systems might nullify him because he doesn't play North-South. He doesn't. So I think Marner would be an odd man out in this, unfortunately, unless he can really adapt. So in that case, you're going to need somebody like Big Z, Zadorov. I love that guy. He's hard. He's in your face. I would like to see a Montour on the backside. He's a big physical force. And I really want to see Domi come back. That's one guy who I'm putting my money on. So look at that. See,
4 for 4 gets it done.
What look like?
4 for 4. Yeah, does 4 for 4 get it done with Domi?
What was that? Say that again.
4 for 4. Do you think that would get it done?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
1,000% that would.
Yeah.
I think Domi really wants to be here. He does.
I mean, when
He
you
wants
want a player that wants to be in Toronto and
Yep.
understands all the permutations that come with that, it's Domi.
Yep. Yeah, you look at when we just lost Keith there, and there's lots of coaches that were saying, "Hey, you know, congrats on getting out of there."
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's a lot of people. Toronto is not a market most people want to be in. It's not it's not friendly. It's not player friendly. It's not coach friendly. It's not a friendly market. And yeah, I think, but Domi loves it. I think Domi knows it, feels it. He's brought up in it. It's his life. He understands it. So he's a big side.
What do you take from the meeting that everyone must have saw of Craig Berube and Mitch Marner in Yorkville?
I think that was him saying, "Hey, do you think you can adapt to a different style? And if not, where do you think you might want to go?"
Yeah.
I think he may just.
Yeah, that sounds like.
It's exactly what it is. I would love to coach you. Here's how I'm going to coach you. Could you become an 80-point player and go this way? If you can't, there's no point.
Does he have the same meeting with JT? John Tavares? Or, I mean, he probably has it with every member of the lease. Am I right?
Every member.
Tavares had a longer contract remaining, maybe. But I think with what we have remaining with JT, I think we're looking at maybe a Spezza kind of thing after that's over, where he just ends playing with dignity and a love of the jersey. At least that's what I hope happens. Moving him, I just don't see how the optics of that work in any.
It'll be a little bit more than a Spezza because JT, John Tavares, is still scoring almost 30 goals.
Yes.
So he's not a 5-goal scorer, and I don't think he'll ever will be a fourth liner.
No.
I think he'll be gone long. But I hope you're right as far as contract goes. George, your 3 choices.
Well, I definitely like Zadorov, and Domi for sure, and third guy. I don't really know of a third one. Maybe a goalie is what I'm looking for. Definitely a goalie is what I would be looking for. But I definitely want Domi and Zadorov.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Domi over Bertuzzi for sure.
Yeah. Well, if we're going to lose a Marner of a passing quality, we need a Domi that has the same kind of a passing ability.
Yes.
And like Ian said last week, we're going to beat up the Mitch Marner trade rumors. So we're not even going to get into that today. We'll just
right.
on another day. Let's say honorable mentions. How about Chandler Stevenson?
Oh, yeah.
Chris, Victor Arvidsson. There's a few guys up there right now.
Yes.
Just want to did you guys hear about any of those names that Utah was actually looking at? Like, am I wrong for saying that they were kind of ludicrous? Like, are we actually going to call them Utah Hockey Club or the Utah Cannons or the Blitz? I don't know. Some of those names look pretty funny. Did anyone see a name that caught their attention that they would actually like?
Yetis, I believe I saw.
Yetis.
Yetis?
Yeah. Yeah. The Yetis I liked.
Nobody liked the Raptors when that was suggested, and that seems to be great. So you could grow on us. Who knows? Hockey in Utah, fellas. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, the basketball seems to do quite well there. So
yeah.
Right. I want to congratulate the first season of the PWHL and the Minnesota team. Yeah. Hopefully next year they actually name the teams too. And I believe the PWHL is going to expand, and I think they're doing quite well. Does anyone have an opinion on the Women's Hockey League so far?
The clips I've seen, I've not gone out of my way to watch a game. The clips I have seen, this is viable hockey. It looks great. And I think this is there's absolutely room for the league, and I hope they thrive.
Yeah. I actually want to ask another question now that we're talking about it. It's a funny thing I seen on Overdrive. And what they were saying is the PWHL got away without over aggressive hockey. Yeah. Can the men's league actually do the same?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so.
No.
When a guy who's 6'6" and 220 pounds smashes your guy into the boards, there's a retaliation that has to happen. And it's part of a dance. I don't even think it's necessarily something we're cognizant about. It just is the response. I don't think it's possible in a men's league, personally.
No.
I watch a lot of major junior,
Yeah.
junior A hockey. I watch a lot of that level hockey. The PWHL, in my mind, was just as fast, just as fun, and just as physical. I know there's no open ice hits allowed, but there are, and they happen. And those girls are not friendly to each other. It's an aggressive hockey. They say non-aggressive, but it's pretty good. It is actually pretty fun hockey to watch.
Yeah,
Nice.
I've noticed they actually do they stand each other up is what it is. I think it's not really a body check, more of a stand up.
Yeah, you're not allowed to hit. A hit is considered a impede the flow, right? So you have to stop that player. You can rub them out, and they do a lot of rubbing out there. There's a lot of physicality on the boards. There's a lot of everything there. And like you said, every once in a while they run into each other and they stand each other up, and they'll take a 2-minute for hitting, but they do it. It's I don't know. It's good hockey. I didn't mind it at all.
Yeah.
Hey, we're gonna just get on to it a little bit about what's going on in NHL right now. So far, Ian's predictions are seeming to come right. Kind of, we'll see as the Edmonton game approaches us tonight. And I'm still on board with Dallas. If anyone's going to come back 2 straight games on Edmonton, it would be Dallas and their stingy goaltending. I mean, Stuart Skinner. I mean, Skinner is actually doing what I didn't expect him to do, and I still, even if they get to the finals, don't expect them to do. But has anyone changed, or JT actually? I guess you have to pick a new team.
Yeah, I honestly didn't think the Rangers would get knocked out by Florida that easily, but Florida is so stingy. So I'm gonna call Florida for the East. That'd be my call.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I called Dallas. As much as I want Edmonton there, because I really, really do. I want a Canadian team represented. I honestly think that Dallas has so much bite, not just bark, but bite. They have a lot of fight in them. They've proven that they can come back, and they don't give up. They don't quit. There's a 4-line mentality. They all roll with the same mentality, the same objective. Nobody wants to stand out. They're just a unit. They're just a complete 4 lines of unit. Same as Vegas was their first year. Just roll, and you just can't stop that eventually, right? So
you're expecting Dallas to make a comeback.
I think so. Yeah, unfortunately.
George?
I'm saying if Dallas doesn't come back and win, it's going to be a Florida win. It's going to be Florida will run over the Oilers, and
yeah,
I don't think the Oilers don't have enough strength to stop Florida.
No.
I think Dallas can stand up Florida a lot better, and if they do come out, I'm still saying Dallas. I want Dallas to take out Oilers, unfortunately, but it's a Canadian team, and
I don't think that's a bad thing. You are living in Calgary, and there isn't many. They're going to say Edmonton at any point, just like I wouldn't say Ottawa as a Leaf fan, as you would not say.
That hurts to hear.
Or Montreal.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you know what? I'm not against seeing Edmonton get to the finals and a Canadian team in the finals. If it's going to happen, so be it. But I still don't think that they're going to win the Stanley Cup. Florida, I don't know. I you know what? I didn't realize some of the pickups, sneaky pickups like Tarasenko,
right?
That they made. And they actually built their team. And maybe we should have listened to Mr. Paul Hendrick when we had the chance, and he picked Florida.
Yeah. Florida is an absolute monster.
They are.
And but I think if they go up against Dallas, this is my thoughts. If they go against Dallas, they'll take Dallas down because Dallas is they're not offensively driven that way. But I have a funny feeling that there's a lot of offense sitting at Edmonton that might be able to penetrate that Florida. And if they penetrate Florida and they get to Bob,
This is it, right?
They'll beat them. They can beat them.
It's Edmonton. I mean, McDavid can
Yeah.
literally put the team on his back and win.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you know, guys, I'm really conflicted with that because I don't want to see a Canadian team break that record before our Leafs get a chance to do so. But B, I wouldn't mind seeing the Montreal being the last Canadian team out of the way. So I'm conflicted with that one right there. We are getting down to the end of the show. I do want to tell you guys, there's some fun things that we might do here in the future. I might be inviting a wrestler on here with us one time, and we can just talk about wrestling. I hope you guys can brush up on your wrestling and your WWE.
I'm not a wrestling guy at all, but
well, we'll shoot them questions anyway. I'm sure you can find up some interesting questions that you might be able to tag along as we go.
Especially as not a fan, you'd ask questions that maybe a real fan wouldn't even think to ask. So I think that'd be good.
Exactly. Is there anything anyone wants to add to what we have done here today in this episode of Sports Chatter before we sign off, boys?
David Perron, as also a maybe. Loved what he said about being coached by Berube and how he felt. That would be also a pretty good pickup, I think, as well.
Oh, yeah. Has there been any news on assistant coaches yet?
No.
Yeah, it's surprising.
I think I read Gau's to the Senators, but I don't know if that could be true.
Malhotra went to Abbotsford to coach the Abbotsford Vancouver team.
Yeah.
JT, you're heading to the draft coming up soon.
Yep.
So, that. Okay, guys, before we get timed out and we can't sign off, my name is Ken on Ken's Corner here on Sports Chatter episode 4 with today's host, Mr. Ian. I'm not going to call you Fatima. I'll take it. All the way from Thunder Bay. Over the place. Maybe I'm wishing you were in North Bay, but he is actually in Thunder Bay, which is great because we might be bringing a man on here next week. Also, he's in Thunder Bay visiting his family. So, so we got a lot of things coming up. Maybe Phil will be back, and Gord, I hope your daughter is okay in the hospital. Everyone's sent for Gord's
well
stuff.
wishes there, Gord. Sending heartfelt, bud.
Yeah, and George from Calgary, and I forgot to say Ian is in Nova Scotia. Beautiful, beautiful Nova Scotia, which is
thereby.
Yeah, very beautiful. I mean, it is very true. If you got a chance to visit Nova Scotia, Ian has a bed for you.
I'm gonna be on right now, boys. That's how good it is. Right there.
Okay, guys, have a great day. Thank you so much. This is Ken from Ken's Corner, and have a good day. We'll see you next week.
Next week, boys.